why you've failed every diet you've ever tried, and what you can do to fix it. Welcome back. So if you're new here, I'm Sam, a personal trainer and online coach who's lost 11 stone without giving up a normal social life. In today's episode, I'm going to run through exactly why the diets that you've been trying haven't worked long term, and exactly what you need to do in order to change that. So let's get started. So the main reason that most of these diets haven't really worked is that the plans that people are trying to sell you aren't designed to be sustainable. Things like Slim and Well, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Cambridge, there's tons of them, you know it, we've all been there. They're not actually designed to solve the issue. They're designed to help you lose weight initially, but not to actually address the underlying issues that make the results long term. They're designed to keep you coming back, to keep buying from them. Ultimately, they're creating a business on giving you some results, but not enough. By showing you that you can lose some weight, but not actually addressing the underlying issues and solving it long term. They tell you that you can have as much as you want of this food because it's sin-free, or that you shouldn't eat carbs after this time. They're feeding you a whole ton of misinformation and not actually teaching you about the basics of fat loss and diet. Ultimately, it's going to come down to calories in versus calories out. And of course, there is more complex things to it. The level of macronutrients that you're consuming is going to make a difference. So if you're not having enough fats, or you're overeating on carbs, or you're under on protein, all of that sort of stuff is going to make a difference. But on a very basic level, it comes down to calories in versus calories out. And these diets that tell you that you might be able to have as much pasta as you want as long as it's dry, they literally completely fail to recognize that calories actually count. They're so flawed in their thinking that it teaches you that certain foods are good, certain foods are bad. It's actually helping to create an even worse relationship with foods, in which you see certain foods as good, certain foods as bad, certain foods you think you can have as much of as possible. But the reality is that moderation is needed. Moderation actually allows you to have all foods, but in the right amounts and the right frequencies. So you can see that a lot of these diets aren't really designed to be long term. You might be on super low calories, which yes, in the short term, is going to get you some results. Of course it is, because you've created such a calorie deficit that your body has no choice but to lose weight. But there's going to be big side effects from that. You're going to feel slow, lethargic, lacking in energy, tired. Who wants to live like that? And even worse than that, you're actually going to, over time, slow down your metabolism. Your body is clever. It's going to realize that it's now being forced to live on far reduced calories. Your body's going to adapt and slow its metabolism down so that it processes that food more slowly in order to stay fuller for longer and actually functioning. So at this point, your body is almost actually fighting you. You're trying to drop your calories in order to lose weight. Your body is trying to hold on to those calories as much as possible in order to sustain it. And this is where so many people go wrong. Crash dieting is not sustainable. It doesn't work long term, and it doesn't work for you mentally or physically. You're going to hate it. It's not sustainable to live on low calories constantly. You're not going to feel good. Your body's not going to be functioning properly, and you can start to suffer serious side effects. You can have poor amounts of muscle, poor energy. You can have issues with your hormones, skin, hair. All of these things come into play when you're crash dieting. Whereas what you actually need to be doing is creating balance. By having a sustainable way of life that you can actually stick to, that doesn't make you feel like crap, you're going to be able to stick to it more consistently and actually see the results. Now that might mean that you don't suddenly lose 5 stone in 2 months. But I tell you what it can mean, that you lose that 5 stone and you actually keep that 5 stone off. You don't have those sudden drops and increases. You don't start a diet, do really well early on, and then suddenly it all becomes too hard and you have to give it up. That's not you that's failed at that point. You haven't given up because you're weak. You've been forced to stop because the diet doesn't work for you. That's the most important part, that so many people fail. They fail to recognize exactly what they need from a diet. The whole term diet itself, for most people, shouldn't actually be used. People think of it as a temporary amount of time that they suddenly do this hard diet. And yes, there are times that you might do that. You might be competing for a show or have a certain event that you want to lose a certain amount of weight for and fit into that dress. I'm not saying there's times you might not push things a bit harder than others, but the vast majority of the time, what you want to concentrate on is creating a new lifestyle. Creating healthier habits and a healthier way of generally eating most of the time that allows you to not only stick to it, but to actually see the results long term. Focusing on sustainability is far more effective. It doesn't mean the constant up and downs. You're not being let down by a diet that's almost setting yourself up for failure. The constant up and down is terrible for your body. It's terrible for your mentality. You're going to feel like you failed, only to then in all likelihood eat even more food because you feel upset with yourself and actually potentially be even heavier than you were before. This is where so many people are going wrong. It's not about restriction and then going crazy. It's about creating somewhere in between. This is something that I myself have done. As someone who's lived a life being so much bigger than I am now, at one point in my life, I was 160 kilos. That's big, carrying a ton of weight. I realized how unhappy I was living like that, how little confidence I had in myself, and how it was affecting the entirety of my life. You're now looking at someone who's lost 11 stone from those days. My entire life is so much better. The way that I wake up in the morning and feel is better. I'm instantly in a better mood. That then leads on throughout the rest of the day. I think more positively. I have more confidence. I go after more in life. That all has come as a direct result of actually taking control of my life. And when I say take control, as I mentioned, I don't mean take control by doing a drastic diet. For the vast majority of my weight loss, I have achieved that while still enjoying a normal life. Enjoying pizza. I'm a pizza guy. As everyone knows, I absolutely love it. Why should I have to give up something that I genuinely love? I don't have to. If I actually put a consistent plan in place in my life, and the vast majority of the time I'm eating more consciously and I'm aware, then a pizza here and there isn't going to do any damage. I'm able to go on holidays and relax for a while. I have times that I might not go to the gym and train because my body's tired or I feel like I need a rest. I have nights out where I'll go for a drink with friends. I'm able to do all of that and still achieve the sort of body that I want. That's something that you could also achieve. And I know this because I've done it myself, and I also coach clients through the same thing. Trust me, I've been there. Give you an example, one of my clients, Lisa, when I first met her, she tried things like Slimming World so many times. Honestly, it's actually insane. She'd see initial success, weight would drop down. It would then become too hard because she was restricting herself too much. She'd have to stop, the weight would go back on. She would then feel like she's failed, give up for a while, and it would result in that cycle starting again. Whereas when she came to me for help, I said to her, look, we're going to do things differently here. I'm not just going to give you a plan that tells you you can't eat this, you can't eat that. You have to overly restrict yourself and barely eat. I said to her, I do things differently. I know that it works. I've done it for myself. Now let me help you. So I created a plan for her that included foods that she enjoyed. It factored into spending time having food out with her family. It allowed her to go on holidays and enjoy them being off plan and still come back and not have really done much damage. It can be achieved. It just needs a level of thought and a level of thinking. Create better habits, not short-term fixes. All of these diets out there that these big multinational companies are trying to sell you are exactly that. They're products that they're trying to sell you. They're designed to be repeat custom. They work for a while and then they don't. They're setting you up to continue to pay them for help, rather than to actually teach you what you need in order to create a new lifestyle. This is exactly why most diets that you start will never work. You need to make a change. You need to think of sustainability and creating new habits. So that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then please like, share and subscribe. And trust me, you really don't want to miss out on the episode next week. It's just like this one. It's going to hit home and it's going to help you realize exactly what you can do to create the healthy appetite to success.